But KV Subramanian, सब कुछ गलत है. GDP is down, employment is down, we have nothing, taxes are high, and there should be a wealth tax for the 200 billionaires. That's what has been recommended. How do you see this budget, and what do you think? Of course, we all know what it needs to do, but what will it do? Give us an insight.
Very good morning, Navika. I don't think we need to get into the political rhetoric. The facts speak for themselves. India has been the fastest growing economy, since COVID. Yes, this year there's been a dip, but if you look at the employment as well, and I think the economic survey clearly points out that overall the labor force participation rate has actually increased from 49.8% in 2017-18 to 60.1% in 2023-24. Unemployment rate has declined from 6% in 17-18 to 3.2% in 23-24. Also, if you look at the GDP has actually caught up with the trend that was prevailing pre-COVID. So I don't know what facts actually those people that talk about all this doomsday, which actually I encountered when I was there in government as well. These doomsday predictions never came true. Now, when it comes to the expectations, I think I would say that this is a budget that should actually focus on reforms. And I think I will also mention that while the central government should do reforms, I think the emphasis on states to do reforms is equally important. If you look at two aspects actually which really need emphasis, because consumption, and let me point out a fact, because many of the columnists will say, oh, consumption is declining, consumption is a problem. But if you look at the facts, consumption actually has grown at 6.7% in the first half, during when GDP has grown at 6%, and consumption as a percentage of GDP is at a 20-year high. In my opinion, actually, the two engines that really need push is actually investment, and especially private investment, and second is manufacturing. And here, manufacturing, I want to focus, if you take the 6 inputs that are required by manufacturing
let me first stop you right there. Subramanian, when you say consumption is actually very high, are you just
I'm not saying very high.
nixing any attempt at reducing tax rates, tax slabs, or raising of exemption limits? Are you providing that argument? Have you already given that to Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, old time's sake? Because if you have, we're sending out the troops for you.
No, I think the case for actually the salaried middle class to be provided relief is absolutely well made. I'm talking about, setting the facts on consumption. I'm not implying anything about tax rate, for the salaried middle class. I think that is an aspect that must be focused on. I would actually emphasize a bigger point, which is that the direct tax code actually needs to be brought in, because the tax code that we have is 80 years old. It's a 1961 Income Tax Act. Hugely voluminous. That is actually the dream of chartered accountants and tax consultants, etc. But it is actually the nightmare of small businesses and individuals who actually encounter a lot of difficulties, especially from the tax side. And that is something that I would be watching for. I want to, I think, emphasize that what we don't want is a new code that is as complex actually as before. That will not serve the purpose. At the same time, I think, as I was saying, the emphasis on manufacturing, and here I want to point out states especially, because as I was saying, if you take a manufacturing sector firm, the 6 inputs that it needs are land, labor, capital, power, logistics, and ease of doing business. Of these, except for capital.
Interrupting you again, budget documents entering parliament. If one of those sacks can be brought to the studio, maybe we can cut the chase and get
a massive scoop. Scoop of scoops.
No, we'd be arrested for that. But never mind. As a reporter, it's always been our desire to get hands on the official secrets. It's a desire. I don't think arrests are made for desires that you have in your heart, but never mind.
Yeah.
So,
but
yes,
if I can ask KV Subramanian one quick question. You've said that India can become a $55 trillion economy by 2047. And the government has spoken about 2047 as an important landmark. But is this 6.4% growth going to get us there?
Of course, 6.4% is not going to get us there, actually. And I think, the 8% growth that I've talked about in India at 100, the economic survey also talks about the same 8%. But I think what we have to understand here is 8% is the average growth that we need. That is not the growth that we need, if we get it every year more than 8%, great. But if there are years where actually it's lower than 8%, it should be compensated by growth that is higher than 8% actually in other years. And for that, I think the emphasis on reforms is something that is absolutely critical. Private investment must be focused on. And overall, actually, this theme of finance, this is something I'd written about a couple of weeks back. You'll have a lot of columnists and, commentators coming in talking about corporates being given basically, corporate tax rate and sort of treating wealth creators as villains. I think that is an aspect that really needs to be focused on. We need to respect